Hey, AJ here. I want to wish you a happy spring break. I know that some of you are finished your spring break. Some of you have yet to start your spring break. Some of you are right in the middle of your spring break. Some of you had a February break. Some of you have an Easter break. There's an Easter break that's before Easter. There's an Easter break that's after Easter. What I've learned is that no two spring breaks are the same across our network. And depending on your province, depending on your category of school within those provinces, you may have very different breaks than the people down the road or the people in a different province. Here's my prayer, regardless of whether you're in the middle of it, you've already had it, or it's coming. My prayer for our leaders has been that you'd have a deeply formative experience with the Lord, that you'd find peace for your soul, that you'd find restoration for the weariness that we feel mid-March, that you would have an experience with the Holy Spirit that puts wind in your sails and draws your eyes to your Father in a way that helps you re-engage and chase after the important mission in the kingdom work that you are involved in. And that might be while you've been out on a missions trip with your students, or a formation trip, an exposure trip, that you've gone out and done the hard work and you're coming back physically tired. I just pray that you're spiritually filled by what the Lord did in front of you and within your own soul. You may have had spring break and a break at home or a vacation away, and you were able to slow down a little bit. And I pray that you had an experience with the Lord that put wind in your sails and brought restoration to your soul so that you might lead really well into this next season. I've been preparing a parent session for a few of our schools around spiritual formation of our students, of their children. And it's got me thinking about my own spiritual formation practices. It's had me evaluating at a high level, how intentional am I? And without getting into much of the content, I guess one rhetorical question that I want to ask you and plant some seeds in your mind is this. Do you have an intentional plan for your spiritual formation? I suspect you've got a plan for your budgeting, and a plan for your next vacation, and a plan for your yard and your garden, and a plan for your physical exercise, and a plan for your calendar. And my kids' activities alone, they dictate my plan for my next few months in terms of my calendar. But are we just running the paces of what we think a Christian is supposed to do, a Christian leader is supposed to do? Or are we taking the same kind of intentionality that we put into all these other areas of life into our spiritual formation? Each phase of life for us is going to require different things for our formation and give us new opportunities to engage with the Lord and become more like Jesus in some new and exciting ways. And so I guess in this season, I just wanted to ask, do you have an intentional plan for your spiritual formation? Do you have a vision of the type of disciple that you want to be? Do you have a plan thought out of how you're going to accomplish that and get there? And do you have the willingness to implement that plan? It's not about extra and more time. It's just about using the finite time that we have available to us to honor the Lord, to shape our hearts and our minds to be more like Jesus and to be less like the world. One of the resources that I've been digging into is Practicing the Way by John Mark Comer. And this book, I think, is just a beautiful approach to thinking this question through. You're likely aware of it. It's a pretty popular book. There's a video series for churches to use as Bible study. There's a podcast series that walks through the key elements. And the book itself is a fairly straightforward read. But he's challenging us to think about three main areas about attempting to be with Jesus more, to become like him, to shape our lives to become like him, but also to apprentice as a follower of his, as a disciple of his. To apprentice with Jesus is to then do the things that he did, to do as he did. And I think if you're asking that question, do I have an intentional plan for my spiritual formation at this stage of life? I would recommend you dig into this content. Maybe it's the podcast, which are half-an-hour episodes and easy to listen through, give you a light sampler. Maybe it's grabbing the book and digging in your reading time. It's just a really helpful resource, and I think it could be really helpful for some of our leaders who aren't sure how to answer that question. And honestly, if you want someone to chat with about that, I'd love to grab a call and talk through what it looks like as leaders to put an intentional plan for spiritual formation into our lives. Or in this stage of life, how to tweak what we've been doing, how to refresh that, how to give ourselves a sense of newness in the way that we pursue Jesus ourselves, because we know as leaders that we model for so many people, the people in our houses, the people in our staff rooms, the families that are watching us in our schools. If we get our own heart, our own pathway to being more like Jesus, intentional, and that we are implementing on it, shaping our hearts and our minds to being more like Christ, the trickle-down effect, because of the modeling and the position that we've been given, is really, really incredible for the kingdom. And so if this is an area that you'd like to chat about, please feel free to drop a note in my inbox. We'll set up a call. I'd love to just think out loud. Not that I am some sort of expert on this, but I'm also trying to figure out, hey, how does this work in my phase of life right now? And having a sounding board and some ideas to toss around would be a great way for us to journey together a little bit. Hey, my prayer, again, coming out of spring break season for you, is that you'd have a deep sense that the Lord is with you, that there'd be wind in your sails, that you, as you lean into Him, that you can lead effectively those that are in front of you and the work that is before you, so that we can finish this school year with great, great confidence that we've stewarded well what He has given us, and that the kingdom work that He's called us to, that we've contributed to really, really well. And so blessings on you as you come back out of spring break and into this final section of the school year.